Hello everyone and welcome back to another Marvel Crisis Protocol battle report for the channel. Today in the 16 threat match we have the Midnight Suns going up against S.H.I.E.L.D. So it's S.H.I.E.L.D's second showing for the channel against another relatively new affiliation. Midnight Suns haven't been around that long, and despite it being a relatively low threat value, both sides are also pretty packed full of bodies. Playing on the table for you, and we can look at the mission and whatnot in a second, or the Crisis cards being played. But first, as always, let's start with taking a look at the two sides. So there's 5 minis in the Midnight Suns team, being led of course by Blade. That's the dog just goes under my leg, apologies for the shaking. Being led by Blade, sorry I lost track of what I was saying. Joined by Moon Knight, Wong, Iron Fist, and Dr. Voodoo, who will be having his brother Daniel picture token on him from the start of the game. Their tactics cards today are Siege of Darkness, Bats the Ghost Hound, Reversal, Heroes for Hire, and Seance. And here we have the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliation for the second time, being led by Nick Fury Jr., who brings along his grunts, the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. Then joined by Sam Wilson, Hawkeye, War Machine, and Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow. And their tactics cards, including a bunch of the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliated better versions of cards: Helicarrier Strike, Battlefield Medicine, Sitrep, Life Model Decoy, or LMD for short, and the S.H.I.E.L.D. Mobile. And here are the two Crisis cards being played. Secure, which is the threat value being played, is Cosmic Invasion, which is the 4 Cosmic Vaults on the map. Been a while since we've done this one. 1 victory point for each one that you're securing in the cleanup phase, and then in the subsequent power phase you can get some additional power from a vault if you're within one of it. It may also push you back small. The other is the Senator, the Mutant Extremists. So there's 3 safe houses, only one of them is really the Senator. They've been randomized. If you hold the Senator, you get 2 victory points in the cleanup phase, but you can only move small and lose 1 defense die. And that presumably does stack with Incinerate, so it can potentially be very bad. The 4 Cosmic Vaults. 1 there, 1 over there, 1 up there, 1 over there, and then the 3 safe houses, only one of which is actually the Senator, and we'll probably find that out at some point along turn 1. We'll get both sides set up and be back at deployment. Alright, we are set up and good to go. The Midnight Suns are to your left and are taking first activation. S.H.I.E.L.D. is to your right. We've got Natasha and Clint down here. We've got Rhodey there. And then we've got Nick Fury over here next to Sam. And then if we come over here, Moon Knight is down the bottom here. Then we have Dr. Voodoo and Blade next to each other, kind of going up the centre there. And then Wong and Iron Fist up here on this left flank. With that, let's jump into Battle Round 1 and see how this plays out. So it was Moon Knight who got the game started, and he double medium moved in order to get next to the vault and the potential safe house down here. He rolled a blank for his multiple personalities, which means he's generated himself 1 extra power, which has been spent to check whether or not this is the center. It actually is. So Moon Knight is protecting the Senator now, which means this one in the middle. Nope. This one up here. Oop. Nope. Usually the first result, usually it's the second or third, obviously, but no, we found the Senator straight away, and he is just within 1 of the vault. Well, finding the Senator straight away is a good indication that there's going to be violence right from the off, and that's what happened. Hawkeye activated, he moved up medium, and then he let loose his quiver into Moon Knight. Didn't do too well considering only 2 defense dice thanks to holding the Senator, but Moon Knight took 1 damage and has been bled for his trouble as well. Well, with the discovery of the Senator dictating where the action is going to be, Dr. Voodoo activated next, and he had little choice but to start heading down here. 2 medium moves, he can fly, so he just went up and over the van. But down here to back up Moon Knight, he is also just within 1 of the vault there to help keep control over that as well, because Hawkeye stopping back there means he's no longer a threat for that. For S.H.I.E.L.D., Nick Fury Jr. activated, which means his grunts have to go first. They did a move in a bit just to position themselves there, they didn't do anything else beyond that, and then Nick Fury followed up behind them, staying within 1 of the Cosmic Vault at the back there. He's got like a range 3 threat area, I believe, on his gun, or is it range 4? No, it is range 3. So he doesn't cover a lot of ground from where he is right there, but holding it for 1 turn at least gets some victory points. Wong activated for the Midnight Suns, and originally he was going to probably go up the left flank with Iron Fist to help support him there. But in order to let Blade get in there and start chopping fools, he had to move in a half to get just within 1 to the backline vault there, which will let Blade just kind of sprint forwards. War Machine activated for S.H.I.E.L.D. hopped up onto this amusement stall and then fired his rocket pods at Moon Knight, who was obviously only rolling 2 defense dice, not 3 against it. Managed to do 3 damage to him. He can then target another enemy within 2 to do it again. It's only 4 dice physical, and thanks to having Brother Daniel, Dr. Voodoo was rolling 4 defense dice. He rolled all, 3 blanks, 1 hit. So he blocked none of it, and also took 3 damage. That is some amazing bad luck to be happening this early in the game, and does not bode well for the Midnight Suns. Moon Knight is alive on 1 HP now. Well, Operation Go Cutter Full is now underway. His blade activated next and just moved forwards twice his full length of movement to start charging into the enemy lines right there. I don't think there's a... Well, actually, Sam could totally go contest Wong over there, but then Iron Fist could grab that over there. It's over to him or Natasha next to decide what to do. Black Widow also has an interesting choice as well, because she might be able to take a shot at Moon Knight, take him out, but she definitely wouldn't be able to claim that Cosmic Vault if she does that. So of those two, it was Agent of S.H.I.E.L.D. Black Widow. She moved medium to get over here, as there was no way for her to get within range 3 of Moon Knight to take a shot at him, thanks to Clint kind of blocking the space there. So she went around here and took a shot at Dr. Voodoo, because why not? And the dice you see in front of her are the 4 dice she originally rolled for her pistols, which do have rapid fire, although it's not going to matter. From those 2 extra dice, one of them converted into another hit for a total of 5. And then Dr. Voodoo's defense dice, can't quite see it for the tree here, that's what he got. He got 1 successful defense, which means even if he used the Bat Hound card to convert 1 more to a block, it would still mean he takes 3 damage at least, and that is enough to daze him. Stuff like that should not be happening in Battle Round 1. It is very unheard of. It is obviously a spike in terms of good damage versus just a terrible defense roll. But yeah, an anomaly, and again, sadly, not in the Midnight Suns' favour. So they're already down Dr. Voodoo. He is dazed. Last activation of the round for Midnight Suns was Iron Fist, and his hands were pretty much tied with what he had to do. He double medium moved to claim that vault over there, and now it is over to Sam, and Sam does have some options. Obvious one, just counter claim that vault so that neither side scores, or he might be able, because he moves long, he might be able to get into a position where he can shield throw Moon Knight. Probably not. We'll see. So Sam did activate. He wouldn't have been able to get into a position to get Moon Knight if Dr. Voodoo had stayed on his feet with like 1 HP. Possible he could have fandangled taking a shot, because he doesn't need line of sight and there's no cover for shield throw, so he could have done it, but doesn't need to obviously. So instead, he went and contested over there against Iron Fist. And with that, we are into scoring already for Battle Round 1. So at the end of Battle Round 1, it is fair to say that S.H.I.E.L.D. has laid the beat down on the Midnight Suns a little bit, with some very above average results from the few attacks that took place. Victory points wise, though, the Midnight Suns are quite far out in front. They have the centre. Moon Knight managed to hold on to him for 2 victory points. They hold the back vault thanks to Wong, and this one here thanks to Moon Knight. Now, we're already partway preparing for the power phase of Battle Round 2, so we can cover where the vaults have pushed people, which is why there's been some movement. But real quick, the only victory points gained by S.H.I.E.L.D. is Nick Fury holding that back vault there. So in terms of who got shoved by vaults, it was Sam and Iron Fist. I've forgotten, is that Danny? There we go. They both got shoved away, but they also both get 2 additional power, which for Iron Fist is great, because it gets him that 1 step closer to preparing the Iron Fist earlier than usual. Midnight Suns retain first priority, and with that we can jump into Battle Round 2, with Dr. Voodoo flipping to his dazed side. So first activation for the Midnight Suns in Battle Round 2 had to be Moon Knight, because he's going to get shot. So he activated, he's only allowed to move small when he has the Senator, so he moved back here, and then he had to shake the blood for his other action, sorry, the bleed, because otherwise it would have killed him. So he has done so. He's hiding from Hawkeye, so Hawkeye at least has to move to see him, but he's also in the threat radius of Black Widow, of War Machine. He's not going to last the turn, but at least he's trying to make them work for a little bit, but he has also abandoned the vault over there. Well, of course, Hawkeye was next to activate, or first to activate for S.H.I.E.L.D., sorry. Spent 2 on Hook Arrow to move himself 3, which is within 1 of the vault there. Let him get line of sight on Moon Knight as well. Peppered him with arrows. Incidentally, totally forgot to cover what his multiple personalities role was. It was a shield, which is 1 more additional power. But doesn't matter, he got hit for 3, so he is dazed. He dropped the Senator within 2, so Hawkeye paid his 1 remaining power to pick it up. For his other action, he peppered some arrows into the back of Dr. Voodoo, only managed to do 1 damage and no status effects. Dr. Voodoo activated for Midnight Suns and put a couple of tactics cards into play, starting with Seance, which you can just activate when it's Dr. Voodoo's turn. It makes his brother Daniel buff better this turn, adding 2 dice instead of 1, and adding additional dice when rolling crits this round as well. The other half doesn't matter because it's not on an enemy character, so that's just helping protect him for this turn. But then he did Siege of Darkness, and he and Blade both spent 2 on this in order to do a 0 cost attack for free as part of their turn. Blade did his basic katana attack on the shield grunts, 2 damage. They are out of here. They only have 1 mystic defense anyway. Dr. Voodoo was originally here. He did his free attack on Clint, who also does not have great mystic defense. Hit him for 3, didn't kill him, so he spent 3 on, I believe it's called spiritual strength or supernatural strength. It's his throw, it's a pick up and throw. So he picked up Clint, chucked him into the rock there because the 1 contact damage is good enough to daze him. He paid 1 to pick up the Senator, and then with the reduced movement down to small, moved back to where you can see him to end his turn. Natasha was the first one for S.H.I.E.L.D. to push up after Dr. Voodoo. She moved up medium such that she is claiming the vault there, and then rapid fired her 4 dice physical pistols against him. I misspoke when I was reading out Seance. It's 2 dice instead of 1 on crits, on hits, on attacks, defense, dodges, etc. But either way, it meant no damage from either one of the attacks she rolled against him. Blade was up next, and he decided to try and go have a piece of Black Widow. He moved and then did his basic 5 dice mystic katana attack on her. The attack roll was appalling, 1 success, easily blocked. However, at least it still does proc the bleed, so he benefits from +1 power and heals 1 for every character within 2 of him that is bleeding, but no damage there. And in case you've also perhaps noticed this and we're showing it at the screen, why didn't Dr. Voodoo and or Midnight make use of Bump in the Night at any point to maybe put a little bit more distance or cover between themselves and the people chasing them? Yep, totally forgot. That is something they could have been doing. I think it actually would have meant that Natasha couldn't reach Dr. Voodoo. Not that she did any damage, but, you know. For Midnight's case, he would have been fully around that rock there, which would have made it harder for Clint to see him. 1 less action, perhaps, which would have meant that Dr. Voodoo wouldn't have been dazed. So yeah, should have done it, didn't notice. Too late to go back. Well, given that there's no one on the Midnight Suns who's going to be able to contest Natasha holding that now, War Machine activated and flew down here, putting him just within range 3 for his Beam 3 Metal Storm basic attack. On poor Wong, it bleeds on a wild, which was what he got, and also did 1 damage to him. Second last activation for the Midnight Suns in Battle Round 2 was Wong, and there wasn't really much for him to do. He cleared his bleed with a shake action, and then spent 1 on Vishanti's Blessing to heal himself, well, up to 2, but it just removed the 1 damage he'd just taken. Nick Fury Jr. activated. He ended up only using 1 of his 2 actions because he's holding that back vault. He spent 2 power on Call in the Cavalry. Actually, that means he used none if it's not an action, which I don't think it is. To place within 3 some new S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. They have to have an activated token, so they don't get to do anything this turn. They do get to interact with an extract if it was within range for free, but there isn't. So it's just there calling in the cavalry. So thanks to Iron Fist's activation, we're actually at the end of the battle round because he managed to do 5 damage to Sam. He moved into position first of all, then did his basic Chi Strike 5 dice energy, spiked hard, and the defense roll was terrible. In hindsight, obviously Sam should have used Vibranium Shield, but he was holding on to his power to do that against the Iron Fist and didn't expect it to do quite so much in 1 attack, but that's what can happen with this game. So yeah, he's not getting a turn. It does mean that S.H.I.E.L.D. is going to have priority next turn, but for now we're into scoring. So then about round 2, the S.H.I.E.L.D. faction are still beating up the Midnight Suns, although they've taken their fair share of blows this turn. But Midnight Suns are still pulling ahead victory points wise. However, at the point at which the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents were first dazed / KO'd, the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliation bonus presumably would have kicked in, so they've actually gained 1 victory point from that. Along with that, Nick Fury is holding the back vault, and Natasha is holding the 1 down here, so that brings them up to 4 in total victory points gained. Midnight Suns, they still hold the centre. Dr. Voodoo was able to hold on to them for 2. The Iron Fist holds the vault up there at the back of the table, and Wong held the one over here, although in the power phase now it has pushed him away and he's gained a couple of extra power. But that puts them at a massive 8. So as we go into battle round 3, S.H.I.E.L.D. does have priority now. Let's see if they can turn it around victory points wise. So the effort to try and capitalise on taking first activation has not really worked out for S.H.I.E.L.D. Activated Clint Hawkeye. He shot into Dr. Voodoo, who is not getting the Seance Tactics card buff anymore. It was just for the turn. And the first arrow got through for 2 damage, no wild, so no stats effects. Second one was fully blocked. And Clint usually hits above his weight class, but not this time. So I think that's a total of 3 damage on Dr. Voodoo now on his dazed side. So Dr. Voodoo activated first this battle round for the Midnight Suns. As you can see, he's no longer there. We'll cover where he ended up after a dog cameo. Sora. Hello. She's fine. Anyway, he started with doing his Stag of Legba, didn't even get a wild on it to do power burn. 1 damage got through to Clint on his 2 Mystic Defense. So only spent 3 on Spiritual Strength, picked Clint up, chucked him into Natasha, so that's 1 more set damage to him. She whiffed her dodge and took 3 damage, the full damage from it, which isn't an action using Spiritual Strength. So then he retreated small back to roughly here, and then he used Bump in the Night to shift himself around the corner to where you can see him right there. So I think we've discovered why Clint isn't doing his usual way too much damage type thing, and that's because Natasha's stolen his do lots of damage juice. She had a pretty amazing turn, but to start off, she did spend 2 on Battlefield Medicine, the S.H.I.E.L.D. affiliation version of Medkit. Essentially, you can spend 2, heal 3 damage, and 1 stats effect, so that got rid of her bleed as well. And after that, she spent 3 on Widow's Kiss, fired it 6 dice energy into Blade, and he can only use his supernatural senses power against physical or mystic, and that did 4 damage to him. She then did her automatic pistols, 4 dice physical. In hindsight, he obviously should have used them for this. First barrage only did 1 damage, so that was like, who cares. Second one, bunch of crits and hits, did 4 damage. Blade is dazed. Now you will notice that there is some damage on Natasha though, and that is because after Blade got attacked, Moon Knight spent 2 to play reversal, because he is within 3 of the attacking character. You roll 4 dice, and for every crit and wild you do 1 damage. Managed to get 2. So she did manage to end the turn with some damage on her, but yeah, taking Blade from full to nothing with her attacks, a little unheard of. In an effort to try and remove some threats from the field, the Iron Fist activated and used the Iron Fist on Captain America there, and he did manage to do 3 damage, although honestly that's more so because the defense roll, which was boosted by Vibranium Shield, was just garbage, because the initial roll of 8-9 dice energy had 3 successes, and even with the extra dice thrown in for his block, Sam managed to block nothing. So that's 3 damage. On the plus side though, because he didn't have an activated token, he has been forced to have one, so he won't be doing anything this turn, and that probably means that unless Nick Fury is willing to give up the vault he's guarding, he can go contest the one over there at best. And if he doesn't, then, well, War Machine might be able to get over there, but it's probably likely that he's going to be safe holding that one this turn. War Machine activated next for S.H.I.E.L.D. and 1 medium move just barely put him within 1 of the back vault here on the Midnight Suns half of the deployment table. And from there he did a Metal Storm, his basic beam attack, on Dr. Voodoo. No damage at all. None at all. Wasn't even necessary to do a defense roll. It was that bad. Wong began his turn by doing his basic range 2 strike on the poor S.H.I.E.L.D. agent to have 1 physical defense. 2 damage is enough that once again, unfortunately, they do not get to do anything. He then moved medium back towards his vault so that he's contesting it against War Machine there, who I keep on wanting to call Warframe. So thanks to Captain America not being allowed to have an activation this round, it's over to Nick Fury Jr. to end the turn, and he's not doing anything. He wants to hold that back vault, nor does he have enough power in order to create some new S.H.I.E.L.D. agents. So he's just going to sit there, and that does mean that it's over to Moon Knight to end off the 3rd battle round. Well, Moon Knight made his presence felt. Unfortunately, he rolled a skull for his multiple personalities, which is no benefit whatsoever, does nothing. He started though by using his big attack avatar of Khonshu on Clint, and it was mostly just to get the place within 1 after resolved, more so than anything else, because it's basically a free movement mixed in. But it is Mystic against 2 Mystic defense. Clint had 3 health left, so it was a little bit overkill. It did 5, so he is gone from this fight. For his other action, Moon Knight then just used his basic 4 dice bow staff, You do get to reroll any number of misses with it, so it does have that, and then if you get a hit crit wild, I believe it does a stagger. Doesn't matter though, because he did pretty well with it, and Natasha did not do well with her defense. 4 damage, so she is dazed. So at the end of battle round 3, the Midnight Suns are continuing to run away with it victory points wise, even though they are getting their nose bloodied quite a bit. There were some lucky activation orders there, obviously with Captain America being denied a turn. But victory point wise, Dr. Voodoo was able to hold on to the Senator for 2 victory points. Wong and War Machine were contesting this vault down here, so nobody scored it. War Machine did end up being the only person pushed back by the vault, but that gives him 2 more power from the cosmic energy. The Midnight Suns hold the vault over there with Danny. They hold this one down here now, thanks to Moon Knight doing a double KO, or a daze and a KO. So that takes them in total to 12 victory points. S.H.I.E.L.D, Nick Fury holds that one back there, and that's it, because the only other one they were potentially going to hold is there, and that's contesting. And of course Captain America didn't get the chance to contest over there, so that puts them at 5. So 12 playing 5 means that they've got to make a big difference this turn if they want to stand any chance of catching up. As we go into Battle Round 4, they are retaining first priority activation, so we'll see if they can make use of it this time, because last time Hawkeye did not. Well, to get the battle round started, because this is what matters most, War Machine activated. He moved medium down here, and then he spent on Empty the Clip his massive attack. He did a ridiculous amount of damage to Dr. Voodoo, turned him into a stain on the floor with 5, 6, 7, 8 damage. So Dr. Voodoo he's paced, he is gone. He dropped the center and War Machine picked him up. There's the eventual roll for Empty the Clip right there. That's not an exaggeration, that is the roll. Or, you know, minus the misses. And he gets 2 extra dice added per crit with it instead of just 1. But it's a double-edged sword, because for every crit in the roll, he takes damage, and presumably his titanium armor does not apply to this. So in total he took 4 damage, and he's now 1 away from being stunned, which means even though he's usually pretty tanky, he's holding the center, so he's losing a defense die to that. There is a genuine chance that Wong might be able to take the center from him. So there's no super rush yet to see if Wong is able to take down War Machine, so Blade activated and did 2 Night of the Damn Fears all in all on poor Black Widow. The first one did 4 damage, it does bleed. The second one, thanks to her having bleed from the first one, gives him full rerolls. He's allowed to do a medium move afterwards, which is why he's where you can see him. And that is her gone. She is just out of there. So now that vault is basically secure, although they are both on their dazed sides. And it's over to either Sam, Nick. Oh, that's it. Yeah, either Sam or Nick. Oh, before we cover the next activation though, because it is a new battle round, the S.H.I.E.L.D affiliation bonus kicks in again, and they have gained a +1 victory point. So Sam activated for S.H.I.E.L.D and ended up doing 2 Red Wing assaults on Danny, which involves a place within 2, a throw on a wild if it's a size 3 or less target, and 6 physical dice. So Danny ended up getting chucked twice, which is why he's over there. First one did 2 damage, second one did 1 damage. He's in no danger of being dazed yet. He's got 2 health left, 2 or 3 health left. I forget if he has 5 or 6 on his health. I think it's 5. But he is now very far away from the vault, and Sam is holding it. If he stays there without activating as well, Nick could probably finish him off. Well, unfortunately for Sam, his plan kind of backfired, because rather than going after him, Danny decided, oh, that's a better idea. Why not just try and guarantee War Machine goes down? Moved over here, did his chi strike on him. It did flat 1 damage, that's not 2 reduced to 1, but that's obviously enough because he had 1 health left thanks to the self-inflicted damage he took. So War Machine is dazed. Danny then paid 1 to pick up the Senator, so he's now holding it again. And that's probably going to be all she wrote, but let's just play it the rest of the round. See if Nick Fury is going to do anything, and go from there. So hang on a second, we might still have a game here, depending on how this plays out. Nick abandoned the vault, moved up medium. He then shot his, what was it called, Fury Special? Yeah, Iron Fist. It did 2 damage to him and was able to daze him, which means that the center gets placed within 2, so it's been placed there. So then he spent 2 power on calling cavalry or backup, which means that the S.H.I.E.L.D agents are back. And when they're placed as part of that, they're allowed to do a free pickup action of an extraction. So they are currently holding the Senator. Now they can't do anything because they have an activated token if they're summoned via this, but they've claimed the Senator for the Shield side, so it's not necessarily over. Wong might be able to abandon here to try and take them out to grab it. More likely Moon Knight is their best shot, so let's see how this goes. Well, Moon Knight had one goal left to do and he rolled a crit for his multiple personalities, which means that he has to take an extra action that is a move action in his turn, which helped out because it meant there was a fallback second attack he could have done had the first not done enough. He moved up to where you can see him. He used throwing crescents on the S.H.I.E.L.D. agents, which does have rapid fire, so technically he would have been able to do it 4 times to try and take them out. Spiked on the first one though, 3 damage, so they are down. That means he can pay 1 to pick up the Senator, and there is no need for Wong to take a turn because the game is over, as we will now see as we jump into cleanup. So at the end of battle round 4 we can quickly go over the points. The S.H.I.E.L.D. faction only hold one of the vaults. It's the one that Sam's holding at the top of your screen for 1 victory point, putting them to either 7 or 8 depending on whether or not the bonus victory point from their affiliation bonus was remembered to be counted. And then the Midnight Suns have the Senator again for 2. They hold the vault back there with Wong because War Machine and Iron Fist are dazed, and Blade is holding the one down here, so they gain 2 more. That takes them exactly to the 16 required to win, even if it did go into another round. I think with losing Natasha and Clint, the S.H.I.E.L.D. faction are on the back foot. Sam has 2 health left, I believe, before he's gone off the battlefield as well. So they managed to hold on. They had an early lead victory points wise, and yeah, they are the winners today. So with the Midnight Suns triumphant today, the S.H.I.E.L.D. faction do have to retreat, which is a shame. In terms of misplays for them, it might have been better if Sam had hung back rather than Nick Fury. The S.H.I.E.L.D. agents didn't really get to do anything this time around, although that last minute play to get the Senator, that could have worked out for them if they just didn't have to weather so many attacks on a single defense die. And War Machine doing so much damage to himself when it was unnecessary because Voodoo had like 3 health left. Wanted to secure the kill, but not that badly. If he'd stayed standing, holding the Senator, maybe with a little bit of help taking that vault, they still would have been fighting from the back foot. They would have had a lot of catch up to do, but they could have tried to make it go turn 5 at the very least. Potentially turn 6, but yeah, the Midnight Suns took this one fairly comfortably from a points perspective. Hope you enjoyed watching. Thank you very much for doing so. I sincerely hope you enjoyed, and come back next time for some more Crisis Protocol. Until then, thank you, and ta-ta for now.